Welcome to the Automation Agency's Client Spotlight interview series. My name is Jason Benedict. I'm one of the co-founders of the Automation Agency. And today we're interviewing the Chief Operating Officer of Chicago Liposuction, Jeanne Shockey, who helps women and men to look sexier and find their confidence through non-invasive cosmetic surgery. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, small business, marketing automation, and how Jeanne was able to pivot her business in the midst of COVID from a face-to-face model to a successful virtual consultation model. Welcome, Jeanne. Please start off by telling us a little bit about Chicago Liposuction and how long you've been in the business.
Hello, everybody. Well, Chicago Liposuction is just that. The main thing we do is liposuction. And I've been doing this, basically my whole career has been in the cosmetic industry. Chicago Liposuction has been around since 2009.
So Jeanne, what would you say to someone who's considered liposuction, but maybe they haven't scheduled a procedure yet due to like self-limiting beliefs or fear or myths about this process?
I would say if you give yourself permission to brush your teeth in the morning or, pluck your eyebrows or paint your nails or brush your hair, you should go ahead and continue on doing things that make you feel good and help you look good so you feel confident as you have to go out there and conquer everyday challenges and struggles of life. One of the things I like to always point out, we all spend a lot of money on our homes. We put siding and windows and roofs and kitchens and bathrooms, and we design and redesign and reorganize and buy new furniture. And that's wonderful that we do all that stuff for ourselves so we can feel good about what we do with our money, all that hard work we do. But one thing I think that a lot of us forget is this: our body, we walk around with this frame all day long. And the first thing you see in the mirror when you wake up in the morning is what? Yourself in the mirror. And you wake up and you see yourself. And if you see yourself, but you don't see yourself, we need to help you.
That's great feedback. I love the analogy too. All right, so Jeanne, let's go back to 2020 for a moment and talk about what your business was like before you got introduced.
Don't go back to 2020. We did everything to make it through.
Yeah. So let's go back, because before you got introduced to Keep and Just Call and the Automation Agency, let's talk about what your business was like.
So before 2020, we had a face-to-face model, and it was real. I was real strong-willed about that. I had been asked several times throughout the years to consider doing virtual consultations, but being an emotional, intelligent person, I'm a hugger. I love to feel, I feel like if I'm sitting across the room with somebody, I can tell if they're happy, if they're sad, if they're depressed, if there's just something, they're struggling with, but they have a hard time articulating that. And I think sometimes it's hard to really get that vibe if you're not in the same room with them. And so we were very successful at, raising a culture in our business where we could have someone come into the office and feel love sometimes for the first time in their life by the team being able to just listen to them, understand their story, and know what it is that brought them here, because we didn't go to their house and get them, they came to us. So that was prior to 2020.
Okay. And so how was the business operations run? Like before you had Keep as a CRM and you had Just Call?
The challenge was like an eeny, meeny, miny, mo, what page on the spreadsheet should we go? And there was no rhyme or reason. I tried to put together some internal algorithm about like the timing, try to figure out when the patients like are ready to do something more or different and how to loop that around. But we were just kind of flying off the seat of our pants. We didn't have a way to really direct us. And I found myself frustrated at times because, you hire a team to make phone calls, and you can make as many phone calls as you want, but doesn't mean people are going to answer. Doesn't mean that they're interested now. And I'm like, there's got to be some better way that we are spending this time wisely, calling the right people instead of frustrating people, or just, we don't want to be a bother. We want to be a help. And it wasn't that easy to find it in our wonderful Google Sheets. Also, every night, we were going through closing down and running around the office, find out who did this and who did that, and what were the numbers, and what did you sell, and how much did you sell, and who didn't you call, and who did you call, and how many calls. And to collect that information, it was like, honestly, for my own self, by the time everybody put their information into an email and I could gather it all together, and I could sit down and put my information together to see, feel the pulse of the business, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning every night. Yeah. And if I missed a day, then it was worse. And if I missed 2 days, it was even worse. So I couldn't be human.
It was a very manual and tedious process that just had you running in multiple different directions. Like you said, it was an eeny, meeny, miny, mo type thing where you pick okay, who do we call today? How do we know which customers are where? And, so that is a very, it's very common in most small businesses. They start with trying to manage it from an Excel spreadsheet. And like you said, that's 30,000 leads, and a list is massive to try and go through and sort just from an Excel spreadsheet. So I can totally understand and see how that would equate to so much more manual time, everybody having to spend time after hours trying to pull this data to give you analytics and insights into the pulse of your business, right? So,
well, and another thing, Jason, I like to point out is that anybody that spends money in marketing, you spend a lot of dollars, and to get a phone number from somebody that's interested in what you're offering is very valuable. But it became very unvaluable because it was just going into a spreadsheet, and we had no rhyme or reason to know what to do next with those numbers. And that was a big loss for us, because we just spend the same amount of dollars every month, and you just expect marketing to give you new leads and more new leads and more new leads, and you find yourself frustrated when you're not getting the number of leads that you one time got in a prior year or prior month. And I think that between Jason and Therese and automation agency, I personally could never have taken Keep and put it together to the platform we have today, because I'm not IT savvy enough. And I knew what I wanted to do, but I had no idea how to make this masterpiece of when a person comes in and what pot they go into, and how to get it to the next person at this time and to the next person. And I could see it, but I didn't know how to go about getting it there until I was so blessed to run into you all.
Yeah, I know that when we first connected, you shared a lot of your heartburn, and you even used that word with me. You're like, Jason, I have so much heartburn in my business because all these things are disconnected. I have leads coming in. I don't know, what's happening at certain stages with the business, who's called who. And so, for someone, and that's another very natural thing that happens in most businesses, is your business really well. Obviously, you guys have had a ton of success. Chicago Liposuction has been very successful in doing what you've been doing, but there was also this pivot and change, and COVID kind of stopped everybody, and it's like, hold up, wait a minute, you now have to rethink your entire sales process. So what I want to talk about next is, how has sales and marketing automation using Keep kind of relieved that heartburn for you?
From a sales standpoint, well, I want to start off with, it wasn't so simple from the beginning, because we had to figure out what was going to work and what wasn't. And when we started out getting the leads in, we just said, okay, as soon as we get the lead in, we're going to have someone call them and we're going to schedule. And next thing you knew, our schedule was full, and so full and over full. And it was happy day, and we could do happy dances, all we wanted. But then we found out that we were calling fake people, basically. And we made ourselves a little bit too vulnerable with opening the floodgate a little bit too wide. And so we had to take a little peel back, and we were like, okay, what can we do to make it so that we only call real patients? And that's when we called you back and we said, is there a way we can ask for their photos? And of course, you said yes. And so we were able to implement that once we called them and they were a real human and they were interested, we could send them a link to send their photos. And then we knew that the sales team would be actually talking to a real person with a real belly button instead of clouds or tiles on the floor or, you know, a building. It was ridiculous. The photos that people were trying to send in, we would just say, nope, delete. You're not a real person. You know how on our phones it tells you to tell it if you're a robot or not. I feel like that's what this the photos has done for us.
Yeah.
I'd say the next best thing that I love about it is that the calls are recorded. And, you know, it's not that we don't trust, but there's that saying, trust but verify. Sometimes it's a tool that you don't realize that you need because you don't have it. And so if you don't know you need something, you don't know you need it. And I really didn't know. And we're adults, we hire adults, and we need to feel confident in who we have. But maybe sometimes you're hiring someone that says that they understand what they're doing, but then you listen later on and you realize they're confident. They say that they understand and maybe they think they do, but they still need some training. And so we can now listen to calls and realize where is the training necessary? Where did we miss? And how can we better help support the team? So as they're talking to the patients and they're listening to what they're looking for, we're responding appropriately with the right knowledge that they need. These are all things that we could not have done prior to Infusionsoft and Automation Agency and Keep and Just Call. It's like, you know, all this together has made like a magical secret sauce for Chicago liposuction.
Yeah, definitely. I think, let's talk about Just Call for a moment, because you really hit on some really important factors that I think a lot of business owners who are going to be listening to this recording and this call, Just Call is the call tracking, call recording, and text messaging solution that we set up and integrated with your Keep system. So you hit on a really important note, which is you now have the ability to go and listen to calls to help to improve your team's performance. So being able to do that, it helps to increase operational efficiencies, and having it all in one place to where you can literally click a button and then basically, make a phone call or send a text message right from within the Keep platform. You're now saving time. You're not having to go back and track down like, oh, when did so-and-so call, this lead? Because it's all tracked and documented inside the system. That I saw so much growth and confidence in you too, Jeanne. Like once you started seeing the capabilities of this end-to-end solution that was set up, you were like something changed in you too as a leader in your company and how you communicated differently with your team. So how do you think that's played a factor for you in giving you confidence as a leader, but also being able to give your team and the right tools that they need to be more successful?
Well, I love that you said it like that, because when humans realize that we're being recorded, I believe that we just behave differently, we sound differently. And I didn't want ever to create a culture of our staff feeling nervous to be who they really are and just be passionate and loving. The tool's not there to discipline or to cause anybody to feel uneasy. What I really loved about the tool was when I got to share with them how the tool really supported them, because when they would do consultations or they were talking just to ask the patient if they were interested, and if a patient said, this person wasn't knowledgeable, this person didn't answer my question, or this person promised me a discount, and then when they get with the doctor, they told the doctor, this person told me I'm going to have 4 areas instead of 2, even though I paid for 2, but I was promised 4. And I think it's so cool when the doctor realized they can come to me and say, so-and-so keeps giving this big discount. And I'm like, oh, let's listen to the call. And I remember the first time I did that, the doctor was like, I was actually home and he was home. And he was like, this is what happened this morning. And I said, well, let's listen to the call. And I listened. He was like, what? You can listen to it? How do you do that? And I said, yeah, it's recorded. So, if someone tells you something that doesn't sound like something we would say, let's just stop and listen. Because maybe, when patients are having a procedure like this, they're excited and nervous. And when you're excited and nervous, you miss about 30 to 40% about what we're saying. And so they might think of something that they thought would be a good idea for them to have 4 areas instead of 2 on accident, because they were excited, or maybe they didn't understand what abs and flanks meant on the anatomy. And so in their mind, they're picking out other body parts for flanks than what we think flanks are. That's just a for instance. But it's been really neat to be able to listen to the calls. And once the team realized that that tool wasn't there to grade them or judge them, but it was actually there to support them in what they do every day with the same heart that me and you have for what we do, they were happy to use it and they want to record it. And now they're like, listen to my call, listen to this call. Or they'll have a call that's a little far-fetched and they're like, is this person, trying to scope us out? I want you to listen to the call. And it's kind of fun sometimes to listen to the calls and hear like someone's trying to get our secrets. So the tool altogether is so useful in every single role in the business, from an ownership role all the way down to a doctor that's not even having a chance to speak to the patient at all prior to meeting them, to go back and circle back to see what was really said, just to make sure that everything's clear.
Yeah. I think what I heard like loud and clear is it's a collaboration tool. It allows you and your sales staff who's on the front line to be able to collaborate and talk about procedures, so that if you had a conversation or one of your patient care coordinators had a conversation and they had specific questions, maybe about, their abs or their flanks or whatever, now the doctor can easily just jump into that call, listen to it, and then provide more feedback, to the patient care coordinator that can help to expedite the sales process or help to alleviate any concerns or fears, of the person who's thinking about this procedure. So what I want to talk about next is, going from face-to-face and then going to a virtual consultation is very different. Obviously, there's a lot more resources that are required when you're managing a face-to-face consultation. So maybe talk about that, like what that was like in terms of, pre-COVID, and how has this like optimized your business and allowed you to do more in a faster, efficient way?
Well, so here we are, we're in the Chicagoland area. And if you know anything about Illinois and the Chicagoland area, if you're putting a marketing message out there on the radio and television and Facebook, you're reaching such a wide area that's like people can be driving for hours, 4, 5, 6 hours away. And then the model that we've always had was, we're not in the business to take money for giving someone information about what we do. We want to take the money when we know we're delivering a result. So the model's never been set up that we take money for a consultation. We've always wanted that to be free. The one big hiccup with this model has always been that if we have a sales gal in the office that can maybe see 8 to 9 people a day, because how many hours are in a day? And if you're going to give somebody a good amount of your one-on-one attention, you can't book too many more than that. And so if you're scheduling free consultations where there's no risk to the patient, right, not to show, and then you have staff that you're paying to be in the office at least 8 hours a day, and then okay, I got her booked solid and everybody's booked solid. And then at the end of the day, we're supposed to have 30 people show up. And if you had 3 show up and you're paying 3 full-time employees, it was a big bummer. And it was kind of like, okay, trying to call people and confirm that they're coming and confirm that they're coming, and then call them 10 minutes before if they're not there, and then 15 minutes after if they haven't showed yet. And then if you ever had those magical days where the lobby was packed solid, and it's just everybody's getting coffee and we're giving out little snacks and stuff. And we got music playing and everybody's talking and they're all excited about it. It's kind of like going into a restaurant. You know, you walk in there, you're so hungry, but you know it's a good restaurant, right? Because it's packed. And so they give you that little thing to wait. And that's a good vibe that we want. But the problem with that too was that when you make people wait for so long, we all have like a time period. Like we have such busy lives, or you have kids that need to be picked up from school. And so when you schedule something like that and you say, well, how long can I expect to be there? And we would say, you know, give yourself a good 45 minutes. And now we took you back an hour late because we had a lucky day and now the person's mad. So it was a bittersweet. And I can tell you now, when we book our consultations, because no one's wasting gas money, it doesn't matter if it snows, if it rains, it doesn't matter if there's a tornado warning outside and the sirens are going off. It doesn't matter if their tires are flat and their car doesn't work. Their phone works. They don't have to go anywhere. As long as they were brave enough to send us a photo of themselves and where it is that they're looking for us to help them, it's at least 95% show rate now, which is so good compared to 30% paying more people and getting less for your money.
Yep. And you have to think about the office space, right? You're filling up space in your office. You might have people sitting in, exam rooms or waiting rooms. And so all of that is like time and expenses that just force multiplies, so that when, like you said, when someone shows up 15 minutes late, that puts everything back behind in terms of how your in-person staff can handle and manage that versus now having everybody do virtual consultations. So I want to ask you did you ever think that you'd be able to successfully make that switch to a virtual consultation model and have the level of success that you're having now versus, because I know you're a very touchy-feely person, you like the hugs and build that rapport with your clients. How was that transition for you? And did you ever really think that was like truly possible?
Honestly, when it coming to us in the middle of a pandemic, I felt so very blessed that we had already met prior, and we weren't even thinking about something like this at that time. I'm sure we would have got here where we are today, but we really just I was mostly concerned about that Google list, that shared Google list that was just growing and growing. And I needed to get rid of that. And when I realized one day, it just dawned on me, I'm like, I need to be able to call these patients from home. I need to be able to let them know we're not closing the doors. We're still in business. Hang in there. We're going to get you on. And it was so amazing, because even though we had to shut down because we were considered non-essential for 3 months almost of, that year in 2020, we had the ability to work from home and get our schedule fully loaded. And as soon as we opened the doors and we came up with a new game plan internally in the office on how we were going to be able to do this, because of having this system, it worked. And we were able to reach our patients and keep everything running. And because otherwise, when they finally opened the doors, it was like May 15th in 2020, we would have just started from that moment on, because we weren't allowed to be working until that time. So if we didn't have this going, it would have, who knows, it would have crumbled us.
Yeah, I think that is such a great point. And I love the fact that you talked about, you don't need to worry about your car. You don't need to worry about the flat tire, or, if there's a tornado or there's snow or whatever it is. Like, you almost overnight were able to pivot and shift your business into a virtual consultation model that not only increased your efficiencies, it opened up so much more opportunity for your team to do outbound phone calls, schedule more consultations, coordinate dozens of surgeries all in a single day using one CRM, client retention management software, which is key. And then using the Just Call platform, which allows you to quickly and easily call and track and document the entire experience. So it's such a night and day difference when you think about going from that Excel spreadsheet to kind of eeny, meeny, miny, mo to now, like, I know exactly who I have to call. I know exactly who's interested in a consultation. I know how many consultations were completed yesterday and how many are scheduled for today. So as a business owner, having that level of clarity on a simple dashboard that isn't going to make you stay up until 1 o'clock at night, trying to pull reports, like I would assume that just gives you so much confidence and like ease at the end of the day, knowing you have
It does, and I think it also gives the team more of an ability to feel helpful to me, because I'm sure, perception is reality. Who knows what it looked like when I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off half the time, right? And when everybody had a way to support the ideas better, it made everybody feel more valuable. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember a couple months after we had opened up and we were just ticking away and everything was going real well. I called you. I said, Jason, we had like 7 states have surgery last month. And that would never have happened because we didn't do virtual consultations. People would not have come in from other states for a free consultation. So we would have turned them away. And I feel like shame on me because I didn't have a way to do it right. So I didn't do it at all. So being able to get the photos and then getting to have our team hear the story and the need and the want and be able to verify because we had their photos and listen to the calls and make sure that that's what we do, what we're going to do here. It made me realize how not having this tool was actually hurting our business. We were losing a lot of money, the dollars we're spending in marketing, by not being able to spread our wings out far enough and say, you want to come in from California? Okay. You want to come in from Alaska? Okay. You want to come in from Indiana? Sure, come on. We didn't even know who we were talking to, what state they were in, really. As long as their number was in there, we push OK, call the next person, and there you go. So it was always fun when we're finding out, okay, where's the hotel? Because we're going to be coming in, and we're like, it's just been such a fun time and needed. And you guys could not have been here any later or sooner. This was perfect, right on time.
Divine timing, as they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that that's really interesting too, because when you switch to that virtual consultation model, you opened up your market to just be on the Chicagoland area. And now, like you said, you've got multiple states calling in and your reputation is building and people are hearing more about Chicago liposuction. And they're like, okay, well, I can get a free consultation. I don't have to drive. I don't have to book a flight. They can get right to you and get connected with you and your staff. And I think the other key thing too is you mentioned that you spend a lot of money on marketing, and a lot of businesses do that. They spend so much money on lead generation and they don't realize how important the follow-up process is. And I think that's one of the critical things that you now have in your business is every new prospect and lead gets a welcome email, gets a text message, a task notification gets assigned to your patient care coordinator. That patient care coordinator then calls that person. They encourage them to upload and send their photos. And that's automated too, where they can simply just upload their photos to the system. And then once the photos are uploaded, it notifies your patient care coordinator. And then you guys can verify, like you said, because you were getting bogus leads. So now you have this like end-to-end system and solution that has like taken away so much of the heartburn and the eeny, meeny, miny, mo like challenges that you dealt with. And so for like looking at the growth and what's happened with your business, it excites us because you're truly innovating in the liposuction space, Jeanne. And that's the amazing part is I think a lot of businesses are going to catch on to what you're doing and they're going to go, Jeanne, what the heck are you doing? And how did you transition in the midst of like chaos? What is it? What's that secret ingredient? And, and I think that sales and marketing automation is that secret ingredient. And you as a business owner, you know what you're good at. And you also know the areas where you need to hire a consultant. So let me ask the next question, which is, if there's other businesses out there right now that are in like the medical space that got shut down or they're trying to figure things out and, they're considering like hiring the automation agency or working with Keep and Just Call, what would be your recommendations to them?
Number one, I would say if you have if you've been in business already in the medical world, and you have any type of a patient chart load pre-existing, stop stressing out. You just got to get Jason and Therese, automation agency, the list of your leads from before, and let that be your lifeline. You can lean on that, because like you said, when we spend so much money looking for the new lead, we forget that someone that came a year ago, 2 years ago, 9 years ago, 15 years ago could still be your new lead. And maybe at that time in their life, they were dreamers and they weren't ready to move forward. So that's my first thing I want to say about that, because I know that we don't look at it like that, because we get so stuck on looking for a one result in that. And I believe in the business world, we look for the new instead of knowing what the old also can do. I would say, secondly, if you're in that situation where you realize, you're doing everything that you need to just trust Jason and Therese and the team to help you take what but do something with it that you don't know. And that's a big, big, big key thing. A lot of times I talk to you and I tell you something, and then you're like, well, we should maybe do this. And I'm like, okay, let's do it like that. Because we don't, the ability you have to take this tool, Keep, and what you can do with it. I ask you, can we do this? Can we do that? What it can do better than me. And so I just take any type of an imagination, what you wish your business, if you could be an octopus and you could have a mouth all around your head and you could have ears everywhere and you could do multiple things at once, tell Jason what that would be and let him make this tool do that, because that's exactly what it can do. It can pretty much do every single thing we wish we could do, as long as we let you know what we need, and you can design it to do so. That's been the most fun thing about this. And I love giving you guys the challenges. I'll say, I remember when I realized, okay, we're back up and running, and we got the patients that got cleared from COVID, and we got their clearance that they don't have COVID. Now they want to come in for a follow-up, but now we want them to get cleared from COVID again, because we haven't seen them in 3 weeks or 3 months, but we don't know if they have COVID. And our surgical office is very, very strict, because we have the surgery ORs in our center, and we really needed to keep it safe. And our patients were not happy that they had surgery and they would have to get cleared again and again. And it kind of started giving everybody a bad taste in their mouth. And I'm like, okay, how about if we start getting them to text me personally again their photos every day, instead of having to see them, if I get to watch them every day and see how they're doing. And then all of a sudden I realized, why am I going back to working like this? I have this cool tool that does all this. Now I got myself right back to square one. And I asked you, is there a way we can possibly get it set up that once they have their surgery, that the system knows that today they had their surgery, and we want for 14 days in a row to follow them to see how they're healing, and be able to catch anything that maybe they don't know looks wrong or right, catch it before it's a bigger deal. And what do you say? It all happened. Give me time.
Yep. I remember you said, can we have this ready by Monday? And I'm like,
yeah, by Monday. This is like Friday at 4. Yeah. Can we have it ready by Monday, Jason?
Yeah. But what we took from that was a brilliant idea that you saw what was capable of this tool in the system. And the beautiful thing about Keep is it is highly customizable. And I think what was most exciting about that request is that it solved not only a problem for you and your business, but it also solved an industry problem, which was every doctor wants to be able to make sure that their patient is doing good, that they're healing properly. And in order to do that in the past, they had to come in, do the consultations face-to-face. They had to see them. Again, you get bottlenecked with this process. But now with this automated follow-up process after every post procedure, they get triggered into a campaign and a follow-up sequence, which is going to send them a text message and then allow them to upload their photos. So every day that customer not only feels that you're putting so much love and care and intention in them, but they're also able to upload their photos and the doctor can review it and say, oh, that bruising looks a little, maybe not as great as it should. What are you doing? Let's remove the bandage that you're putting on. Or, you had talked to me a few times about what patients were doing, what they shouldn't have been doing. And like that in itself is going to heal your patients so much faster too. So it was,
because they're not supposed to be putting on lotions and stuff. And then I get a picture with some real shiny area. It looks like it's all like oiled up. I'm like, how come that looks real shiny there? Why is it? What are you putting on that spot? And they're like, oh, and they'll tell me, I'm like, no, you're not supposed to do that. But then we're preventing them from hurting themselves and they don't know. And I think too, Jason, is that it gives the patients a lot of calm and peace that as they're healing and they're seeing things different, that as long as they know that we're watching it, that gives them so much more comfort that
absolutely.
What's happening in the mirror is what's supposed to happen.
Right. And you have those post follow-up kind of campaigns that tell them exactly, hey, here's what you can expect at day 2, day 3, and when things don't go, or maybe they're healing in a different way, everybody's body's different, right? So you now have a way to where you don't even have to have them come into the office to get checked. Your doctor can step in, give them a quick call and tell them exactly what to do. And they didn't have to get in the car. They didn't have to shovel any snow. They didn't have to fix the flat tire again. Like that's the beauty of having a system that works for you. And like you said, you're like, why am I putting this back on my plate? I've got this tool that can do it for me. And one of the things I want to bring up too is I loved it. The other night you called Therese and you're like, Therese, I know it's after hours and we need to get some sales in the door and we're a little backed up. And, we had a conversation. You're like, Jason, we need to have more photos uploaded. And I'm like, well, Jeannie, what are you trying to accomplish? And you're like, we need more surgeries booked. And I'm like, okay, we know exactly what we need to do. So because you have the right system and everything has the proper segmentation, today we actually sent out a campaign for you guys that targeted everybody that had a consultation already, that hadn't booked their surgeries. And what was the outcome of that, Jeannie? One of the
employees came into my office and said, I have 300 text messages of people wanting to get a hold of me. And that's not a problem. The problem is if you don't have anybody trying to get a hold of you, you have to choose that battle. You want to have it where you can't respond back fast enough. And it's something that couldn't happen. There's not a radio, commercial I can put out there that can make 300 people that already know us, that already understand the process, already sent their photos in, that were dreaming or just the time wasn't right. There's not anything out there that I can say, hello, remember us?
Yep.
Except this. And so, anything in sales is like, you have to be at the right place at the right time.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest challenge for every one of us out here is we want to be at the right place at the right time. It's just, we're not robots and we don't want to be robotic. So we want to be able to do something that can still be something that's 100% true to who we are in our core. And when you have something like this, a tool where one of the staff members literally with their own voice gets to say, hello, it's me. Haven't heard from you. I'm sitting here waiting for you to call me. Go ahead and give us a call. And we get to send that message out to the people they've spoken to. They're like, oh, wow, Katie's calling me. I've been meaning to call her. I lost her phone number or, whatever the case may be. It makes me feel so good because you know how long it takes to make 300 phone calls? Do you know how long it takes to make 300 phone calls and 300 people answer? And then 300 phone calls that they answer and you still have to talk to them. You can't make it through the day. There's not enough hours. Yep. I told some the other day, I've been working 8 hours a week, eight days a week. Cause it's like, you get so busy, you feel like there has to be an 8th day in there. And it's more fun to work like that when you have a system that's set up to help you conquer. I know that there have been many times in my career that when it feels like the well has run dry, that you just have like this, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do. And you just kind of lose yourself in that, and you take a turn for the worst before you have to decide, is it over, or am I going to keep digging? I think now having this system has made it so much more easy for me to realize all I got to do is make a phone call. I've got to let, Jason and Therese know. If Jason doesn't answer his phone, make sure you get his wife's phone number, because she'll answer. But I'm just teasing. But, make sure that you guys know if I'm having a panic, there's someone out there that can help us. And having this tool and knowing what it can do, it's easy for me to feel a little bit crazy in the head in the moment, because the anxiety I have, you don't have, but what I have as far as my resources and the ability to help overcome that moment of anxiety. And so it's why, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to keep building this thing out with you until it drives people to the office on their surgery day.
There you go. All right, I got a few more questions for you. That was awesome, Jeanne. All right, so what is your favorite thing about Keep? If you had to boil it down, what is the number one thing that sticks out in your mind that you absolutely could not live without moving forward?
My favorite thing about Keep is that it has all of my leads in one place.
Okay, awesome.
One place.
Okay, and with Just Call, what is the one thing that you love about Just Call that you couldn't live without?
The one thing I love about Just Call is that, I haven't talked about this yet. That's a good question. My favorite thing is that if my staff is sick one day, I'm able to say, so-and-so sick, send their calls to me, or send their calls to this person. And then when my phone rings, it tells me who the call really belongs to and who the patient is. So I know they're expecting to hear this voice when I answer, and I can prepare them. You were looking for so-and-so. And I know because I have her numbers forwarded to me because she's out today. And the patients still get us. They're not like, oh, I must have called the wrong person. And I can get the text messages. So when someone's out for a day, it doesn't put my business at a standstill. It keeps it still going. Normally if someone's out sick for a day and they have a landline and a little voicemail, you'll go in their office and it's blinking and there might be 25 messages on it that as a business owner, you don't know who's on there, how long it's been there. But now with this tool, I can log in, I can see so-and-so's got this many messages, this many text messages, patients are trying to get through today. And that's a big thing, is that, again, being in the right place at the right time. If someone's finally calling you and they've been thinking about this and they're like, this morning they woke up and they're like, you know what, today I'm going to do it. I'm going to call the gals back from Chicago Liposuction and tell them today's the day. I can't fit into my jeans for the 5th day in a row. Nothing works. Nothing fits. I need to do it. And if we don't answer that call, they're going to call the next company.
Yeah.
They don't know that we're the best since sliced bread until they come here and we do the procedure. So we need to be able to be there on the phones, and that's it. Just Call does that. And Just Call does more. Just because we can listen to the calls and hear what's going on and be able to really help mentor my team and help the doctor feel comfortable and help the patients feel comfortable, because if there's something that they miss, we can go back and listen to it. So I don't know, Just Call gets more than one favorite thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of great features that you can literally spout off in so many different directions. And obviously the one thing,
you know what, Jason, but none of this could happen if Keep wasn't such a flexible tool.
Yep.
And whatever wisdom and wiseness that this IT system has, I feel like it's just like this platform, a spreadsheet that you can design whatever you want to happen on it, and Keep says, yes, we can allow that to happen. We can take your leads from your Google and your chats and your Facebook and in your call center forms, and we can take all these leads from all these areas and put it into one little bucket where by the time it gets in there, no one cares internally where it came from. But before, I was like, okay, I have to go check out the chats. Okay, did I give all the chats out to everybody? I had to go make sure that we got all the leads from this website or that website delivered, because we couldn't get them all in one Google sheet. And so to just keep everything together was, I'm sure it was impossible. I'm sure I missed a lot that
Yeah.
I don't really want to admit, but
Yeah.
keep having that ability to let it all come together, whatever that permission it's given us. And then your talent to be able to sit down there and type away, but whatever you're doing behind the screen, makes it all get there. And then it does what we want it to do. It's just all three of these systems, they have to work together the way they do so that we can have what we have.
Absolutely. It takes a small village to manage this process and to create it, right? And I think the reality is that you want to try and have a simplified version of it. Because it is a complex system. A lot of people say that, like, oh, this is really complex. And there is certain degrees of it that when you're integrating and connecting systems and trying to make it work, like you said, just ask, hey, Jason, what can I do with this? Is it possible? That's the hardest part of it, is just structuring the logic of how things are going to work. What I'd like to end with, Jeanne, is two more questions. One, what has impressed you the most about working with the automation agency?
Oh, I don't want to say it because it's going to be tough for you guys to keep it up. I mean, you guys are just always there. You're always there. You never tell us no. I worry about that for you because, like, I sit here, I feel like I'm like releasing my stress onto you. It's kind of like someone's like absorbing all your pain, and you're like, what are you going to do with it? Well, I don't want you to have my pain, but I feel like that's what you do for me. You absorb the pain, and you hear what my pain is, and you take it away. But not only do you take the pain away, but you put it in the bucket, so it's not something that's painful. It's actually preventing it in the first place. So if we didn't have automation agency, you and Trees, it wouldn't be possible, because again, I'm not smart enough to build Keep Out, and bless your hearts. Even if I was, I wouldn't know to do all that it can do, because you somehow have figured out much more than we could even have imagined. And I think that's the thing I love. I think I love challenging automation agency to make it do something that maybe at one point you never thought that you needed to do either, because you don't know what we do in our office. And so to say, okay, can we do this? And you're like, give me some time, we'll figure it out. And you've never said no. So being able to come in here, I don't know how well automation agency knew anything about cosmetic plastic surgery, but I think you know a little bit more now than you did before.
We know a lot about small business, and most small businesses
Yes.
have the same challenges. And
Yes.
and it's all about creating that end-to-end customer journey and the solution for you and for your patients. And I think none of this would be possible either, Jeanne. I don't want you to cut yourself short, because you're a brilliant businesswoman. Obviously, you've had great success with Chicago Liposuction. You guys were successful before us. We just looked at the processes. We looked at how we could turn a couple of dials and how we could simplify things for you. And now it's just opened up a world of opportunity for you, for your team.
Jason, you're right. It allows me to do what I love to do best. I love to be able to grow and mentor and inspire. And when I'm so bogged down doing these long, exhausting tasks, you can't really, even if you're a business owner, a leader, some type of a manager, if you're doing things all day long that you don't love, you won't be doing them for very long. And being able to have a tool like this, even if today, if we're talking to someone that doesn't have something like this, being able to add something like this to the team would help your team. Even if you're an owner and you're going to have the managers use it, it'll help your team feel so much more better. Once it's the beginning part of it, you have to get through that. The growing pain is a real thing, but it's something that you need to get through because you get to design it yourself. But if you can get through that, it actually becomes something that allows you to do what you love to do best, and you get to be your best self because of it. So that's the best thing about it, is I get to be more happy at work and with my team, because I'm not sitting there doing silly things all day long. on Post-it notes and counting and spreadsheets, and I don't know, I don't want to do that anymore. And I remember I got to the place where I had to tell everybody, I had to cut it off. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing all these silly spreadsheets. I'm not pulling together these numbers because I need to count on this tool to do it. And if I continue to keep doing it myself, I won't push automation agency to help me faster. And I needed to be able to know that I need your help, and I needed to trust that you guys could do it, and you've done it. So thank you.
Thank you. Very well said. Jeanne, why don't we close this with telling us a little bit more about how people can learn more about Chicago Liposuction?
You can go to chicagoliposuction.com. Chicago Liposuction also has a Facebook and an Instagram. So if you're interested, you can go check out our website. You can look at our Facebook, our Instagram, or you can just call 847-995-9000. That's been our number from the beginning of time. We haven't changed it, and you'll reach us there.
Perfect.
Or Jason can post a just call phone number at the bottom of the page.
I can do all of that. We could.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Jeanne. It's been great interviewing you and learning more about, all of the amazing things that you're innovating in the liposuction space, and just hearing the great success stories your business is having. We know you're going to continue to keep growing, and we're excited for your continued growth.
And I feel the same about you. Everywhere I go, I see opportunities for automation agency. I'm like, oh, this is my son's having therapy on his shoulder. Automation agency needs to come in here and put something together. I see it for you too. So good luck on your journey. But we appreciate each other, and that's what makes us a good team.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.